losing menopause fat and menopause weight can be really tough. I should know because I tried and I failed for 2.5 years. I was trying to do the exact same things as I did in my younger days and it just didn't work anymore. In this video, I'm going to give you the exact strategies and I'm also going to tell you how you can take part in an amazing workshop to lose that menopause fat. Hello fam and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal and this channel is all about helping you if you're a woman over 40 or like me over 50 get in amazing shape. And I thank you so much for all the wonderful messages and all the shares that I know that you do. And if you're new to this channel and you're looking to lose weight, lose fat, get in amazing shape, if you're over 40, 50, 60, you've come to the right place because I've got all the information that you need to help you on that journey. And one of the biggest concerns is women at this stage in life, we've generally gained weight, haven't we? And that's what happened to me through no fault of our own. You know, I get women approach me saying, I've gained weight over COVID and they've thought it's actually to do with COVID. But what's happened is they've been going through menopause at that exact time. And that's pretty much the main reason why you've gained weight. And then, of course, it's much more difficult to lose it at this stage in life. So I am going to talk about the strategies that you need, but first of all, I'm going to talk about why the weight gain is happening and what is happening to your body. Because if you understand that, then you understand why the old strategies don't work and why you need to start implementing, like I did, some new strategies. So what's happening with your body? Well, it's one of the most difficult times in your life, isn't it? And often we're told when we go through pregnancy and childbirth exactly what's going to happen to our bodies. But until really recently, when you go through menopause, so it really starts in perimenopause, and it might actually start as early as your mid-30s. So although I say this is a channel for women over 40, it's kind of loosely for women over 40, but what you can find is you actually start having these common problems in your mid-30s, believe it or not. So what are they? Well, you're going to find your hormones are depleting. So that's why conceiving starts to get more difficult as you get older. Now, I was one of those people, I'm 57 now. I actually had my last child at 40 years old. I got pregnant at 40 years old and had a baby at 41 years old. But what I found is I just couldn't lose the body fat after having that baby, after having my final child, my final and third child, even though I was trying. And I couldn't understand it. And nobody told me that when you get to your 40s, you're just going to, because your hormones are changing, so your estrogen, progesterone and testosterone, that's all depleting. And what that means is you're going to get fat gain. That's the unfortunate thing about it. And I thought it was because of childbirth. But my previous children, that hadn't happened, and it was because of my age. The next thing that's going to happen is you're going to lose muscle. So past the age of 40, you actually lose muscle at a rate of just under 1% per year. So if I hadn't done anything about it, I would have lost like 17% of my muscle mass by now. So that's really significant because what muscle does is it actually improves your metabolism. It's all connected to your metabolism, how much muscle you have on your body. So that's another reason you get fat storage, because you're losing muscle. The other thing that's happening is you're actually getting inflammation in your body as a result of the depletion in your hormones. Maybe you have raised cortisol levels. Many women at this stage in life also have insulin resistance. Cortisol and insulin are other hormones that can actually control metabolism. So cortisol doesn't do that like naturally, control your metabolism. But raised cortisol levels can actually interfere with all the rest of your hormones. And so it can cause fat storage, or more commonly known as stress fat sometimes. Some people call it stress fat. It's not a scientific term, but raised cortisol levels are a big problem, as is insulin resistance. So you can be prone to insulin resistance once you hit over the age of 40 and around the time of menopause. And so what does that do? Well, it's when your pancreas cannot control your insulin levels, in other words, your blood sugar levels. So you're going to experience blood sugar spikes. Again, that's going to lead to fat storage as well as quite a lot of other health concerns. It can lead to type 2 diabetes, for example, and Alzheimer's, believe it or not. The other big thing that's happening is you're actually experiencing menopause symptoms. That could be lack of sleep. It's one of the early signs of perimenopause is lack of sleep. It could be extreme fatigue. I had both of these. It could be night sweats. It could be hot flashes. It could be anxiety, depression. All of those are going to impact on you because you're going to feel, and most women feel like this, even if they've been massively into exercise when they were younger, you can feel not motivated about exercise because you're experiencing all these menopause symptoms, and that is perfectly natural, perfectly normal. I'm going to go on to talk about the key strategies, but first of all, I want to talk about what doesn't work, because I believe that is so important, because I did tons of what doesn't work for a long time. Like I said at the start, 2.5 years of doing the wrong strategies. And I believe now, having worked with thousands of women, so 8,000 women have signed up to my programs, I believe that these things don't work. So what doesn't work is diets. That's diets with a name. They are the kind of diets that you go on a diet and then you come off it. You want a long-term nutrition plan that you can actually stick to in the long term. Things like quick fix diets, rapid weight loss diets, extremely low calorie diets, extremely low carb diets. They are very good for losing weight on the scale in a short space of time, but they are not good for fat loss and being able to stick to it in the long term, and therefore not yo-yoing and not being able to stick to it in the long term. So there's a big difference between losing weight on the scale, which can mean that you lose water and muscle as well as fat, and losing fat, which I'm completely in favour of, where you retain muscle, and that's really important. And rapid fat loss with those kind of extreme diets doesn't work like that. And I would say, by the way, that extreme fasting, I would put that into that category of diets that don't work. So like 24-hour fasting where you're eating one meal a day, you're just not going to get in enough calories, and it's like extreme dieting. And what's going to happen is you're going to lose a lot of muscle mass as well as fat, and you don't want to lose muscle mass. The other thing that doesn't work is kind of workouts, like working out alone and not really paying attention to your what you're eating, particularly tons and tons of cardio for like an hour or more. What that's going to do is it's going to deplete your muscle mass, and you cannot afford to lose muscle at this stage in life. So I found, one of my go-tos was running, But when I did it as I got older, it became less effective because guess what? I was losing muscle mass, and I couldn't afford to lose muscle mass. And so what I do now, and I'm going to talk about it in a bit, is work on putting on and retaining muscle, because that's the thing that's going to boost your metabolism. Let's talk about what works. What works is actually following a nutrition plan where you take your protein high. I talk about 1 gram of protein per pound in your body weight, and if you weigh over 170 pounds, shoot for your goal body weight. Now, I love weighing, tracking and measuring my food, because then I know exactly how much protein I'm taking in, exactly how much carbohydrate I'm taking in, and exactly how much fat I'm taking in, and I know whether I'm actually in a calorie deficit. So that is burning more energy than you're consuming. That's really important. So number 2 is you do need to be burning more energy than you're consuming. So as well as taking in plenty of protein, you kind of need to be in what's called a calorie deficit. And many women I come across, when they start measuring and weighing their food, they're shocked at how much they were actually eating before. Because many people say, oh, well, yes, I am in a calorie deficit, but actually they're not. And you don't really know what you're consuming unless you're weighing and measuring. So that's what I always do. That's what I always encourage the women that I work with to do as well. Number 3, you do need to focus on what I call anti-inflammatory foods. So what does that mean? Well, there's certain foods that are not going to serve you anymore because they're going to cause inflammation and play havoc with insulin resistance. So I would say sugar, white flour, and also highly processed foods. You want to avoid those at all costs, but what you can include is healthy whole foods. That is amazing. So rather than refined grains like white flour, go for whole grains like oatmeal. There are some foods that are super anti-inflammatory that it's really great to incorporate into your diet. So that's things like avocado, oily fish, olive oil, nuts, leafy green vegetables, berries, tomatoes, even dark chocolate, so 70% dark chocolate, and green tea. They're going to help reduce inflammation in your body, so do include them. The number 4 thing that works for reducing fat, and this is massive, is incorporating strength training. I recommend doing it 3 or 4 times a week. It can be done at home and it can be done at the gym. It doesn't really matter. You can use weights, you can use resistance bands, especially if you're first starting out. Resistance bands are fantastic. What I would encourage you to do when you reach a certain level, don't be afraid to lift heavy. I lift massively heavy for somebody of my size and weight. At the moment I'm about 53 kilos, which I think that's about 116 pounds, something like that. And, I'm not afraid to lift my own body weight in things like squats, things like deadlifts, that kind of thing. And see, even some of my back exercises and chest exercise is almost my own body weight in weight. And you won't be able to do that first, but on some of those key lifts, that's what you should be aiming for. And you should be aiming for something called progressive overload. So, if you're going, I was talking about workouts that don't work. If you're going to a body pump class and you're lifting the same weight and doing the same routine every week, it's not going to work in terms of building muscle. Building muscle involves progressive overload. So that is going to be going reasonably heavy, and it is making it challenging each time you hit your home gym or the gym, actually progressing. And I always like to think of getting 1% better. I've made tons of video all about how to strength train, so do check those out because they've got much more detailed information. Let's talk about cardio, because I did say earlier on, you can do the wrong type of cardio, which is tons and tons of intense cardio. What I like to do is either walking is absolutely amazing and everyone can do it. And you can always incorporate walking. Aim for 7,000 steps per day. Some people say 10,000 steps, but did you know that's actually a made up number by the person that invented pedometers in Japan? The scientific evidence shows 7,000 steps is fantastic for health and for fat loss. And if you can, but this isn't for absolutely everyone, incorporate some sort of high intensity interval training. I might do that once, 2, 3 times a week for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that kind of thing. No more than 30 minutes. Short amounts of high intensity interval training where you're going flat out for 30 seconds, say, and then you're doing walking pace or resting for 1 minute to 2 minutes to kind of get your heart rate back down, and then you go again. You want to be doing like 80% of your maximum heart rate. But I do understand that's not for everyone, so if that isn't for you, focus on the strength training and the walking. Believe you me, you can see massive success about this. Now, I want to tell you about a free workshop that I'm running. I talked about it at the start, and you can take part in this free workshop, learn from me about all the strategies. So it's going to be a deep dive into what I've just discussed and how to do it, how to implement this, and you can find that by going to the link in the description. I'm going to put the link there, and there is a link at the end of this video where you can actually sign up. You'll be able to choose a slot that works for you in your time zone and take part in this amazing workshop. And I get really good feedback about these free workshops. It's the kind of thing other people might charge money for, but this is absolutely free because I am passionate about educating women at this stage in life about how you can achieve your goals.